Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 4th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. If you'll please stand and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Okay, this evening we have a series of budget presentations that will highlight our director's initiatives for the 24-25 year. So we can jump right in and I believe athletics. Mr. Bednarski, you're first.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having us. I have here with me Ms. Miller for the health services, which is the second slide. So under athletics, we have been fortunate the last few years to add some different sports and activities for many different types of students. Those include esports, which in the second year we're state champions. We have added girls wrestling, flag football, which starts on Monday, and unified bowling and basketball, which tomorrow is their next match, unified bowling at Strike and Spare if you're interested in stopping by. But these have given many students different opportunities that may not have gotten involved in athletics or a club. Initiatives or possible additions for next year, we're looking to restructure the cross-country indoor and outdoor track. It's the largest teams that we have. And just for managing purposes, we'd like to have a head boys and a head girls. So there is not a difference or an addition coach. It would just be restructuring. There would be a little bit price difference in adding the head coach for, say, the girls side. Secondly, I have girls wrestling. The participation numbers were great this year, and it's even growing. But for safety and due to the sport, I'd like to see an additional assistant coach for the girls team be added. We had an injury at one of the tournaments and the coach had to go in the ambulance with the athlete. And luckily we had Coach Sherborne was there. She's a board approved volunteer, but we would like to see that addition. Also for swimming, we would like to see an additional coach for the boys and girls swim team for diving. With 20 plus swimmers, again, it's a safety thing. Some of the divers were getting the short end of the stick with coaching. And if you look across our neighboring districts, West Jenny, Liverpool, Syracuse City, FM, and JD, they all have a separate diving coach. Also, in addition, the North Star Network. This started during COVID and has grown. We've produced 6 that I can call off the top of my head that who are gone on to the next level at the college level, ACC. They've done amazing things. We have students at Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Butler, and one of our Johnny's going to Ithaca next year for broadcasting. So Section 3 uses us for the Student Athletic Advisory Committee doing the videos. I get questions all the time from other high schools asking how we're doing it. It's grown, but if we can make this a club or giving even more students opportunities to participate that are interested in the broadcasting field. And then lastly, for athletics, with the new state-of-the-art weight room, we have a lot of not just student athletes, but students using the facility. And this may be long-term, but I'd like to see a certified strength training coach to work with our students and athletes for sports-specific workouts. And also you see getting into the dietary piece of it too, and taking our athletic program to the next level. So that is what I have for athletics. Any questions with athletics? And
thanking you for all of the work you have done and your secretary. This has been an outstanding season for all I was going to wait till later to say that, but I know you guys might leave. So for all of our sports. But what I saw was amazing on Saturday with the boys and the girls, and the support that in wrestling, that the girls give the boys and the boys give the girls. And then with Unified, watching certain children or students working with students with special needs. You're not only helping those children, the special needs children, you're helping the other children. So thank you for everything you have done. The leadership is been great, and good luck in the spring.
Thank you.
I just am wondering, as far as the North Star Network Club goes, what does it look like right now, and compared to what we're looking at? Because I know that it's a new thing and I've seen good stuff, but I don't know exactly what it looks like.
So Mr. Vanette helps kind of on the side, but the kids, with Johnny, they kind of have driven it themselves and put out the schedule. And I'm afraid when the Johnny leaves, that it doesn't continue. And we still have some students that are interested in getting into it. And we're trying to recruit at the 9th grade level so we can work the 10th to 11th and keep it going. So.
Yeah, it sounds great. Thanks.
Quick question over here. Hi. Still no kids asking for pickleball. It's an old person's game probably. Yeah.
Not yet. But
Okay.
I can see possibly tennis going away and it becoming pickleball at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too. Thank you.
That it would have to be, a sanctioned sport through the New York State Public High School Athletic Association.
Okay.
So if they go there, then we'll look to get involved with it.
Okay.
So, but it is a growing game for sure.
Big time.
So next we have health services, and we're just looking to continue our efficiency within the system to make sure we're in compliance with the New York State regulations, which Peg has done a great job this year. And we were talking about working with Dave London this year, but moving into this summer, we're going to plan out our professional development for nurses this summer for the whole year. So all of our nurses have the opportunity to work with Peg and maybe some other providers for professional development in the health services area. And then lastly, I guess one of the additions would be, with the renovation at Lakeshore, Peg has been working to monitor the student to nurse ratio, and we would be looking to add an addition 0.5 to cover the movement of those students from Lakeshore to Gillette and Cicero L. So that's it for health services. Questions? Okay. Next up, you have the 3 directors from special education. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Julie Durham. I'm Katie Reed. Is this our clicker? Okay, there we are. I just wanted to get our slide up. Okay. Thank you for having us tonight. It's so nice for us to be here. In special education in our department, we are supporting obviously the 3 pillars of the strategic plan through collaboration with our principals, our other directors, the other departments throughout the district in order to address the 3 pillars. One of the big emphasis from our department is the multi-tiered system of support and working within that framework to utilize all those supports that are offered in general education before students move to receive strong philosophical belief in our office that students are students first and that they are general education students who should have all of the advantages provided in general education to stay on that path toward graduation. And some of the things that we support through our office are those small group supplemental instruction through the academic intervention services. That's a big part of the MTSS. And then also the social and emotional support that's available through our school social workers, our school psychologists, and then some of the other initiatives, multi-tiered system of support such as the Promise Zone, the Family Engagement Specialists, and the Liberty Resource Partnerships. For our reading proficiency pillar, we offer professional development and access to material online tools through a program called Really Great Reading. And that program it can be a tier 1 intervention, but in our district, we use it as a tier 2, tier. And so it's online and our teachers have the access in the portal to that program with their students. We also have Lexia Power Up, which is in the upper grades, the middle school. And so we've invested a lot of resources toward providing the ongoing professional development and then the materials and the online tools. Our big initiative that we just started last week in our department was that we opened a class at Bear Road, which was a big, exciting thing for us because we're able to support 6 students who have pretty significant autism in that classroom. It's second week, and we're excited that the district was able to support us for those 6 little boys.
Hi, what do you guys think is one of the biggest challenges you guys face while you're directing these services here in the district?
Right now, we're kind of in a challenge with enrollment in terms of the number and type of student that we're getting into North Syracuse. And we're not readily able to place students at BOCES like we used to. So we're expanding our curriculum and trying to build capacity within this district to make sure that we can educate students with significant disabilities. And it's just the space and the professional development and training that people need in order for those to be successful.
I assume the kids in that classroom, which sounds amazing, the new class, they probably are exposed to their general ed peers also, I assume, or?
So it's really exciting that they're in the general education environment. And we are hoping to expand their ability to push out. Right now, they're really just getting used to being in school, to being in that environment. They're learning the environment, but it is a benefit of having it right in our own district and at one of our own schools.
I'm curious, as far as you mentioned something about BOCES. Did you say like BOCES doesn't have the availability or the room? Is that, and then what child, like we have 1214 programs here and we have 811 programs here, special classes. So what rises to the level of them being in district and out of district? Do you have that well defined?
I think what we're referring to with BOCES is that right now there's a pretty extensive wait list at BOCES. And that's what led us to open our own class, was that we needed to meet the needs of these students, North Syracuse students. And I think across, when you ask like, what is our biggest challenge? I think across education nationally, teacher shortage and just the availability of having staff in general is just very challenging. So we've had to program within our district more than I think historically for students who would have risen to the level of needing a BOCES placement. Did that answer your question?
It does. I just, looking at that, I also in my professional life have programs in my district. And while we have amazing teachers, amazing staff, the same thing, teacher shortages, TA shortages, trying to, have that, and having the kids in their home district is a huge plus. But I have found with BOCES, it seems like the wraparound services that they have are so much more supportive. And, we've had kids that have, gone in our programs to BOCES, and I don't know what it is, whether it's their training, whether it's their wraparound services, or, they have that separate site, so they had more staff on hand. So I guess I'm just kind of commenting, that's all.
Yeah, it's certainly like the BOCES milieu can provide a lot of really specialized services, and especially like for kids with significant sensory needs. So I think we're looking at that. You know, and in the absence of some of those slots right now, we're really trying to accommodate those needs and figure out a way to do it here. But certainly still using the BOCES continuum as much as we can and as much as we have availability when kids are rising to that level. That helps. Part-time OT.
Fine.
You know, to Mrs. Kramer, but also being on the BOCES school board, we are aware of the situation because we're dealing with 23 school districts, as you two know, and it's just increasing. We try to have programs. We have one at Lake Shore, and we have one at the high school, two at the high school, I believe. And then KWS Bear Road has one also. So, yeah, but it's just that there's such a need, such a need.
I've seen the culture.
I was going to ask a follow-up question on the enrollment piece, because I know it's just surged in the past couple of years, and kudos to you guys for taking on that challenge when we really need to be creative and think out of the box on how we can give these kids the education that they deserve. I'm thrilled we're doing our own in-house programs. Off of what Dr. Kramer said, in addition to just services that BOCES offers, are we bringing them in for any consulting, training, things like that, that allow us to continue to run our own programs, but take some of their expertise and bring that in-house? So we're not solely reliant on them, but they can kind of give us a helping hand.
As you know, the need arises, for sure. Dr. Riccadelli has been to see several students throughout the year to consult and to give us advice about it. And now as we're going through annual review and then through the preschool to school, they'll be consulting with us a lot more about what students are appropriate for our programs and what students they might have a spot for.
Great, okay, great.
There's a lot of ongoing collaboration between them and us always.
Having a solid foundation to go off of. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next up is
It was good to
Matt
see
Irwin.
you.
Oh, yeah.
So Matt Irwin is up next for facilities.
Good evening. So a lot going on in maintenance and operations as usual. This year, some major factors impacting us. We're in the renewal mode for our utility agreement. Okay, so we use a cooperative, the New York State Municipal Energy Cooperative. So we have budgeted on the side of caution. Luckily, things aren't as volatile as they were 6 months ago, and it's looking like we're going to get some good bids, but we won't know for a couple of months. So Don and I are watching that carefully, and we'll make adjustments accordingly as we move forward. It's also amazingly time again for our building condition survey. We did this last in 2020. Let's do again in 2025. It's a 5-year cycle. It's a significant expense, but it's really how we do all of our assessment and planning for our capital work. As you're all aware, we have lead testing going on. New York State chose to move down from the federal standard of 15 parts per billion down to 5 parts per billion. We're in that process this year. We're going to continue that process next year. Okay. And realistically, this is just a contingency reserve in case we run into some more significant issues. Everything passed previously in 2020 with the 15 parts per billion. We're expecting about 10% of fixtures to be an issue, but if we run into a systemic problem where we've got to replace some piping or something else, we want to be prepared for it. That's all that is. I don't expect it, but it's always a possibility. On the maintenance side, I have included some additional funding to keep up with our aging infrastructure. We still are challenged with failing boilers, failing coils, failing heat exchangers, pumps, et cetera. Those parts obviously have gone up in cost significantly over the last few years. And we have some major need on our walking tracks at our elementary schools. We've done some Band-Aid work over the last couple of years. They really need to be ground down and repaved. On the security side, we're really looking at some additional staffing to support after-school activities. We've included now in the budget, the overtime for our SROs, which we just absorbed in the past. We're now budgeting for that because we're using, a lot more support after hours. It's just the nature of the world around us today. And we're actually, putting in some potential funding for weapons detection systems. So as we have that conversation, we're going to be meeting with a consultant and, moving forward with some plans in that arena down the road. Nothing's defined yet, but we wanted to make sure we had it in the budget should we have to decide to go down that road. Also of note, the maintenance and operations labor contract is up the end of June. We are looking at some changes that may cost us a few dollars. So Don and I are tracking that now. I'm actually working on some spreadsheets for Don to track that and dial that in. Okay. On the capital side, we really turned a corner in 2020. We really began investing more appropriately in our school buildings. We have a backlog of deferred maintenance. We really, Don will tell you, we use that eraser right down to the pencil. We use our buildings very well. We maintain them well. They still look good on the surface. There's a lot of underlying work that needs to be done that may not be visible on the surface. So we'll continue that work. We talked a little bit about the building condition survey. Really what that does for us is it helps us prioritize the work that we have to do. And it helps us factor in any changing educational program needs. These new classrooms for special education, things like that, impact our needs assessment as we go into the capital planning phase so that we can be providing the right environment for students. And I really want to press this. Community input is critical. As we go into the next building condition cycle, the data drives our short-term decision-making and has for some time. We've got lots of infrastructure work. It's obvious we need to do it. We've been tackling it. The part that's not obvious are what are the community's desires from our facilities? How do they want to use our facilities after school? What are the student needs? What's the changes in program that are coming? I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see those things coming all the time. I ask a lot of questions. These guys talk to me regularly, but we want to make sure that we're getting that community input along the way. And with Micron coming, that long-term view and the flexibility to adapt to new circumstances and unexpected changes, we want to be prepared for that. So building condition survey is really going to be a 10-year snapshot, not just a 5-year snapshot this time around. Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. And Mr. Clark from IT.
All right, good evening. So to start off with, I just want to talk about the network a little bit. So obviously our goal is to keep the network up and running. As our neighbor to the west found out that the internet's kind of important. And so, keeping that up and running and keeping the network working is our top priority. We are going to be moving to Wi-Fi 6. Which is the industry standard now for Wi-Fi. We're allowing for our wireless devices to connect better, have quicker connection, allow for more devices to connect to the same access point, which will just allow that, the connection in the classroom to be that much better. And our network on the back end, our big focus is security. We're really focused on security. TJ and Ryan are really focused on staying up to date on the latest trends, what's out there. And they continue to work on network segmentation to limit risks where we just finished up a penetration test that came back very good. And, we're constantly monitoring and looking to keep the network as safe as possible so that we're able to do what's important, which is help educate the children and use the latest technology. As I mentioned, the access points, we're moving to Wi-Fi 6, which the reason we're able to move to that is we need to replace all the access points in the district. We purchased access points with Smart Schools bond money back years ago, and they are coming to end of life. So now we are going to leverage E-rate, another funding source, to replace all of the access points across the district because they've come end of life. So that will allow us to move to the updated Wi-Fi. Chromebook replacement, we actually were able to get in on the third round of emergency connectivity funding. So we were able to leverage all 3 rounds of the ECF funding, which is great. And we were able to put in a purchase of Chromebooks that will allow us to cover next year and the year after for the most part. We might have to fill in with a few here and there, but we were very lucky to get into that last round of funding. So as a result of being able to leverage that funding, we also have another aging problem in our district, the smart boards. Smart boards and projectors are they're not getting any younger. We're continually have to replace bulbs. Some of the rooms, the projectors are very dim. So we are working to, over the next school year, replace most of the smart boards in the district with ViewSonic interactive panels. We've already started that process, but because of the funding available, we're working to kind of speed that up because, like I said, the smart boards continue to fail. The projectors, the bulbs, there's a lot of expense to keeping the smart boards running. So we have a plan in place to work with M&O and replace as many smart boards with ViewSonics as soon as we can. I'll stop. Any questions on infrastructure? Yeah.
Yeah, so you had brought up a lot of the security stuff, and you had said something about tests and that they've been going
Yep.
positively. Do you feel that the district is currently giving you adequate resources to be prepared in the inevitable event of some sort of breach?
Yeah, that's a bit of a loaded question, but yeah, we with unlimited funds, obviously we could be much, we're always balancing the dollar amount versus the acceptable risk. We're not Bank of America. We don't need that level of security, and that level of security is available. So we try to find that sweet spot where we feel that we're in a place where we're comfortable with what we're doing, and it's an expense that we never had before. The bad actors out there are making it more difficult for us to just do what we want to do. So yeah, yes, the district is being very supportive with what, and I'm trying to be very aware of spending dollars appropriately. So yes, I would say we're in a good place. We're in a good place. Yeah. Yeah, we're in a good place. Any other questions on the infrastructure side? All right. So different from last year when I was up here, I've taken over supervision of the technology education folks. So I'm overseeing the technology ed instruction from the middle schools up through the high school. And so next year is the first year of the computer science and digital fluency standards. K-12, expected to be implemented next year. And so we're working to see where those standards fit into the technology education rooms. District-wide, we've also started to look at artificial intelligence. It's every conference that I've gone to, anything that I've attended, AI is the big topic. And we've been discussing AI and what it looks like in the district. And right now we're in a place of teaching and learning. Our tech coaches put together a website specifically for teachers around artificial intelligence, just to get them aware of what it is, how it can be used in the classroom. Currently, the students do not have access to any AI platforms as a district supported platform. Obviously, they have access at home and on their own devices, but we're not officially supporting anything yet with students. We're still in that kind of learning phase. And we're also continuing our focus on a key set of tools that work with the Chromebook, that work at all grade levels, all subject areas, rather than having a ton of resources. We're really trying to focus on those key key platforms, Google being one of them, and then some other ed tech tools that, from my time at BOCES, I know they're good tools. I know they can fit in many different situations in education. So we're really focusing on steering teachers to use those tools with the kids, with the Chromebooks and the interactive smart panels to leverage the technology as best as possible without having too many choices and getting overwhelmed and flustered. I'd rather have them do 5 things really well than 15 things poorly. So we're focusing on that, that core list of things. In the classroom specifically, for the technology education, we are working currently to partner with OCC and have an electromechanical pathway, which is kind of referred to as the Micron course, but it's not specifically Micron. It's preparing our kids for any sort of technical manufacturing outside of, after they graduate from CNS. And those pathways are we're going to start next year in 10th grade with some classes. And these are the courses that students are able to take free of charge. They're OCC college level courses that they're able to weave into their daily schedule at CNS. We're also focusing on bringing in more 3D printers, robotics, some laser cutters around the district, CNC machines, really trying to give the students the ability and the access to tools that they would see out in a more technologically advanced workforce around manufacturing. So we've been purchasing equipment we purchased some equipment for the junior high last year with the CNC machines, laser cutter. CNS also has a laser cutter, and we're looking at bringing in some more of those tools so that they're able to access the tools before they get out into the job force. And just focusing on hands-on projects. In my opinion, the tech ed classrooms should be a place of discovery. I shouldn't see them sitting around a whole lot. They should be hands-on, working on things. And so we're really looking at that curriculum, looking at our eDoctrina initiative and starting to look at the courses that we offer at the tech ed, in the tech ed wings of the buildings. Questions around tech ed in general in the everyday classroom or specifically the tech education classrooms?
Quick question. So
Yeah.
are they getting college credit like OCC pre-calc, like that sort of?
Similar, yeah.
But they do get the college credit.
Yep, it would be a OCC credit for that class. And so OCC has developed a 2-year program for the electromechanical. So you could go to OCC and take this coursework, which it basically is designed to prepare you for a more technical manufacturing job. You can either do a 2-year associates or you can do a certificate. So we're partnering with OCC to bring some of those classes into the CNS, and in 10th and 11th, they'll take courses with our teachers, and then 12th grade, we're going to send them to OCC for some of the courses that we don't have the stuff for, basically. Yeah.
So on that, would that mean that a student graduating in 12th grade would have the certificate that you're talking about, or they would be 75% of the way there? It depends.
It depends on what class, you don't
Might
have
take it.
to take every single class. Each one gives you a credit. But in theory, if you take every single class, you could end up graduating with that associate's degree. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Any other questions on that? Yeah.
This is really more of just an idea than anything else, but something I've noticed while I'm at CNS High School is, as you said, we have all of those, the 3D printing, the robotics, all those things that you mentioned. But something that I realized is I didn't learn that we had a lot of these until my junior year of high school, because it seemed that they were all really in one teacher's classroom or another. So I was just wondering if you guys had ever thought about the idea of almost like how we used to have a computer room where the technology was a little more limited back then, if maybe there could be something like a technology room where rather than it being in one teacher's classroom or other teachers having to ask, hey, can we do projects in here? There could kind of be a central workspace for this department.
Great question. And I promise that I didn't set it up ahead of time. The next slide will address that a little bit. I also oversee all the library media specialists in the district, and I'm one of the main contacts for our partnership with Micron. So I agree that we need to expose our children early to STEAM education. And we need to start getting them excited about it at a younger age so that they know what a 3D printer looks like. So they'll know, where they'll be able to do things with it. 3D printing is something I do at home. I think it's a great skill. It's a great, ideation you come up with an idea, you design it, you build it, you rebuild it again, you throw out the print and you rebuild it again. So it's constantly redoing your idea. So we're looking at partnering with Micron to hopefully get some funding for some stuff to put into a central place like the library for, that's easy access for me because I oversee them and we've had conversations around that. And it specifically at the elementary schools, starting to get some foothold. We have some 3D printers out in some elementary and we have one in the junior high, we have one at Cicero. So we're starting to get some of those 3D printers out there and we're going to continue to do that. And then also I refer to them as toys. It's teaching our youth skills. So, when I was at BOCES, people would see me and say, "Oh, you're just playing with toys." And I say, "I absolutely am. I am learning how to use these things to help our kids learn how to program and problem solve and things like that." So, coding robots, coding in general, online tools, different exploratory activities, things like that. So those are things that we're looking to leverage our partnership with Micron down the road to get it so that it's more accessible. It's not just hidden in the classroom. It's out in the wild. And we also are expanding our opportunities with Micron. We have our next chip camp planned for the end of June. And we've also had some students, as you guys have seen in the previous board meetings, that have gone to some events at the most in partnership with Micron. So we're continuing to work with them to come up with new activities, new focuses, loop in more and more of our students just beyond chip camp. And Micron's also working with OCM BOCES more to offer programming as well. And along with that, we have a very fast growing first Lego League that districts are participating in the area. And we haven't joined in with that, but the plan is in the next year, if funding becomes available, to start looking at the first Lego League, which would be at our middle school level. And that's something that's grown over the past couple of years very quickly. So any questions around library or our partnerships in the community?
Just a couple comments. Mr. Bowles and I were at Carl W. Siley Bear Road for something else, and it was in the library, and I don't know if that was your library specialist, but they were definitely doing a STEAM activity. And I want to say first or second, and I was just blown away. I start talking to the kids and everything. That's amazing. And then my second comment is, Legos. I'm glad I'll be talking to Don about that because they had it in Cortland through OCM BOCES, and it was phenomenal. And I want North Syracuse involved.
That is on the roadmap, definitely. Yep. Other questions? All right, I'll bring up Nick for math.
So if I was in a second grade classroom right now, it would be the afternoon, you'd be getting into math, and we should probably do like a Go Noodle or something right now to get you guys up and moving around. Would that be good? No one wants to do it? I'm sorry. Especially sorry to everyone online right now. So my name is Nick Scholes. Thanks so much for letting me be here, Director of Mathematics. If you were here a couple board meetings ago, you'll see stuff that is very similar to what I presented. A couple things that I want to highlight. One, you may not see it, but the directors work extremely closely together. And so a lot of the things that special ed talked about, we've aligned in AIS with Jamie and myself and special ed so that they're staying in the same curriculum. A lot of the things that Jason just talked about in terms of the OCC electromechanical engineering, we collaborated with John Rice, myself, Jason, and have really worked together to try to make something meaningful and cross-curricular. And I think that that's something that maybe is missed when you have each of us present separately, and you don't get to see some of that integration that is happening. And so I just wanted to kind of share that. Know that this hallway works very closely together to ensure we're trying to provide the very best for our students and our staff. If you've been in teaching any length of time, you'll know that the number one thing that increases student achievement is teachers and high quality teachers. And so when you think of a budget and prioritizing a budget, that is number one for me, is making sure that we're prioritizing how we provide professional development to our teachers. The number one thing that you've probably heard me say now for 3 years, because this is now going into our 3rd year, is a partnership with the University of Rochester Center for Professional Development and School Reform. We'll be going into year 3, and year 1, I would have called that the theory year, really trying to understand what it looked like to teach from a conceptual understanding lens. Year 2, I would have called that the practice. How do we move from theory to practice? And year 3 is really, let's see it implemented inside the classroom. And so that's the goal of next year. I also think John Wojcik and I have really started to think about what does math professional development look like at the K-4 level. He's doing some really great things even right now around professional development inside the schools. We're also going to be continuing lab classroom cohort number 3, which is a group of teachers that we really work closely with to implement some high-level practices at the K-4 level. And I can't not talk about calculators if I'm a math person and we're talking about budget. Unfortunately, we use a calculator that's approximately $160 at the base level, and we need 600 of them to take a test. And so it's important that we don't put that burden on our families, even though we encourage our families to do so. We ensure that when students are taking a test, they can use our calculators. And so that is something that's always in our budget. They also don't last just like a Chromebook. They're going to go bad after a while, after a couple years. So that kind of rounds out that. If we're going to provide support for our teachers in professional development, we also need to provide support around curriculum and ensuring that that is in place. So we're going to move to 2 more years using our current K-7 curriculum, which is called Into Math. I think that it's done a really good job, and been really proud of our teachers over the last couple of years as we've kind of settled down out of COVID, really implementing it to integrity. And it's been pretty awesome to watch some of the things that they're doing inside of classrooms, especially as they're using some of the professional development, not only in the University of Rochester stuff, but also in the work that we've done with Dr. Sharp, formerly from SU formerly. We are going to be adopting a curriculum in the 8th grade and algebra content areas. We are currently piloting 2 different curriculums. We're in our 2nd pilot right now. And so we'll be adopting for next year. And we'll be looking at what next steps look like for 10th and 11th grade. Really, when I say 10th and 11th grade, what I mean by that is geometry and algebra 2. We have curriculums in most of the other specific areas in mathematics, but not in geometry and algebra 2. Right now it is teacher created materials. And then again, like I talked about the collaboration, we are implementing a computer science course at the 9th grade level, which I'm really excited about. When you talk about the digital fluency and computer science standards, we're also now bringing a true computer science course down in the 9th grade. We have a math teacher who is certified in computer science, who we just hired a year. This is her 2nd year. And so she's excited about doing that as well. We have a really busy week in the district right now, all around math extensions. Over 400 of our students are currently or are going to be taking the MathCon National Assessment this week. We also are hosting the Middle School Math League at Gillette Road tomorrow afternoon. And so I just want to not only emphasize this is kind of a fun, cool week around that, but also the fact that I just want to continue that opportunity that we are providing extension resources and extension opportunities for our highest level achievers, but also for our achievers who may struggle a little bit. We're, like special ed talked about, we're aligning our resources. So using really great reading and Lexia Power Up or Core 5 at the younger levels so that we're all aligned, and continuing with those resources that we're now in our first full year. We piloted last year, and this is our first full year of adoption of those. And then ultimately, you know, we focus on teachers. We make sure that we provide the right stuff for them. We make sure that there's opportunities for students. And then at the end of the day, we say, are we ensuring that all of that is making a difference? So are we being data driven? So making sure that we're aligning our district level benchmarks that we'll do in the summer. And we're also going to be moving from a assessment management system called Mastery Connect at the K-4 level, which housed all of our assessments, to eDoctrina, which is, we made that change this year, but at the K-4 level, we waited one extra year, kind of a tiered rollout, and we'll be doing that next year. Thank you. And any questions? Yes, Thomas.
I was just curious, what's a computer science class at 9th grade going to be like? Like, are they going to be teaching a specific programming language, fundamentals, or is it going to be something like not so much to do with programming?
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's a great question. We are, you know, Python will probably be the programming language that they use the most, only because it's used in so many different things. It also is the base platform for the rovers, the TI rovers. So we'll be using some of the calculator stuff, and we actually have TI rovers that up at the high school that we're going to bring down here. So, but there'll also be a little bit of a, what's that word? Survey of different languages, right? Because we really want to expose. So it's called Foundations of Coding. So it definitely will be coding, and there will be multiple coding languages that are introduced to students, with probably Python being the one that they are exposed to the most.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Yeah, I was just wondering because personally, from what I've seen from seeing a lot of people learning programming and such, that's really important. It's important to learn about the syntax and such of the programming languages, but it's also and even more important to learn about the actual theory behind it, which is why I think that starting out with Python, with how basic the syntax is just a really good idea.
So we'll be calling you up to come in and be like a guest speaker into the classroom. Yeah. Okay. On your breaks.
Yeah. I piggyback on Thomas. So I assume at the high school, we must have all sorts of computer science stuff, because that is like huge in college, very hard at MIT right now is computer science. Do we have AP computer science, I assume, or sorry?
Yeah, we have one computer science teacher at the high school. He teaches computer science A, computer science principles, and then a couple other classes that aren't necessarily computer science based, but teach that type of theory.
Be looking to expand that even more in the high school, or?
Absolutely. It is two different things. One, and one of our directors talked about it, people in terms of teachers and making sure that we have certified people, because because of the new standards, they're now also requiring you to have a little bit more requirements in terms of your certification in computer science. So that's the first thing. The second thing is interest. And I believe if we go lower and start to build interest at the junior high, it also will ramp up our interest into the high school. I also am really excited about stuff like Lego League, stuff like there's some really cool coding opportunities at the middle school level that Jason and I have talked about, that if we start to get students excited about coding at a younger age, then when they do get into high school and there's these more set courses, I think that there'll be more interest, and then it will require us to then go and find someone. Right now, it would make not any sense for me to go find someone because I don't have the level of interest that I need. Yeah.
This is a separate question, but looking at the last bullet point here, you of course have been talking a lot about aligning with other departments, which I think is fantastic. This question isn't necessarily just for you, but you're the one who's been bringing it up. Is there going to be some sort of approach between different departments in ways in which, for students who may be, when we're looking at district benchmarks, who may be struggling, are there ways in which we're going to holistically approach a student or group of students who are struggling based on the interdisciplinary conversation that we're having here, and using different programs or something like that, and kind of connecting to make sure that what one department is doing to help students is also being supplemented in, obviously in a different way, but with another department?
Yeah, I think I'd cut that question in half. So the first part of that question, I think, has to do with the departments aligning themselves to creating good, solid benchmarks that are then effective and produce the type of results and data that you need to then have the second conversation. And so that first part, Dr. Leahy has actually been leading some really great work around curriculum development and understanding where we start with that curriculum development. We've also partnered with Solution Tree and Barb Phillips, who I'm sure you guys have heard that name. And with that, we're, as a set of directors, really moving forward in a really meaningful way around having benchmarks that help produce the type of data you're talking about. I don't think that, and I think that the second part of that question is the refinement of our MTSS model, which we have a guiding coalition around MTSS in the district. And if we get better at using it, first off, having the data, and then secondly, using it, I think that having a really refined MTSS model in our district, all buildings, will help support us create a system where we're truly wrapping around students and using their own data to help support their instruction.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I'm really excited about the work that you're doing as well, Dr. Leahy.
Thank you. Yeah.
About the 8th grade algebra, is that the same as the 9th grade credit bearing one, or is that a different?
That's 8/algebra, 8th and algebra. So all 8th grade math and all algebra, whether you're an 8th grader or, so algebra is taught to 8th graders, 9th graders, and 10th graders. 8th grade math is taught to 8th graders. And we are currently piloting 2 different curriculums in both of those 2 contents. So not necessarily thinking about it grade level specific, think about it as 2 different content, 8th grade math and algebra. And we're piloting 2 different curriculum resources for both of those.
Does this make sense to ask, what does that do for the track students that in 8th grade, they take the credit bearing course?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think that right now we're using a curriculum resource that we know is going to have probably is going to be richer than what our gen ed track students would be able to take. And so one of the things that we have talked about also in as a group of directors, and I would say Principal Terose is really adamant about this, is ensuring that our extension, or our advanced courses and our honors courses truly look like honors and accelerated courses. And so that's some of the work that we'll do in the summer, is looking at our 8th grade algebra course, right? The credit bearing course that you're talking about that's aligned to the Regents, and ensuring that that looks deeper, more rich, and at a higher conceptual level than our regular algebra taught to 9th grade students.
Then just one last question on the computer science courses that are credit bearing within the high school. What do they count as? Would they be mathematic courses? Would they be electives? Or I've been out of it for a while, so I don't quite know the high school.
Go ahead.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so for specifically in the high school for AP Computer Science A and AP Computer Science Principles, it all depends on what major you're going into. So if you're going into a very STEM heavy major, especially in the computer science field, often they will take Computer Science A as a credit. For other types of majors, ones that aren't as deeply rooted in computer science, they will generally act as a math or science elective credit. And then typically for AP Computer Science Principles, which I still do think is a great class, typically speaking, the credit from that doesn't really transfer very well to any university. You'll be lucky to get some elective credits for it, but that's really about it.
Okay, thank you.
They fall under math elective credits.
Sorry.
That's where they fall. But I appreciate Thomas's answer because it gives context to how they transfer after. Yeah. It's great. I liked your answer way better. Anyone else? Okay. And I don't, is transportation here? Okay, awesome. Then I'll introduce my counterpart, Jamie Sullivan with ELA in elementary education.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Okay, so as Nick just mentioned, we were just here a couple of weeks ago. It seems like yesterday. These past couple of weeks have really flown by. But I mentioned that we were in year 2 of CKLA for grades K through 4. CKLA really builds on the foundation of the science of reading. The interesting component to CKLA is the knowledge piece, and I've heard it a few times. When are we going to fit science in? When are we going to fit social studies in? We're really lucky that during the knowledge component of CKLA, that's where we touch on a lot of our science topics and our social studies topics. I've been in quite a few classrooms lately, and I've seen lessons on light and sound and the planets, the War of 1812, geology. So we are building our students' foundational skills with that background knowledge, and we're truly leveling the playing field for all of our students coming in, which is very important to us because we know that our kids are coming into us with varying levels of experience based on their parents' ability to provide those experiences for them. So we're able to do that with our curriculum. Grades 5 through 8, we are in year 1 of EL. You know, it's going. We're working through it. I was just in some classes today. They did some great lessons. They were in the library doing research. So what we're looking forward to is taking a look at this summer and next year back at the EL year 1 curriculum and seeing if we can make some refinements to better hit our students, to align our assessments better. So that's really going to be our focus for grades 5 through 8. And then grades 9 through 12, we're going to be focusing on our essential standards, identifying those essential standards. We're working on some common assessment work next week, and hopefully we'll work on additional common assessments over the summer and next school year so that we have that foundation for our teachers. For next year, just so you know, this year we focused on getting a lot of our elementary and even some secondary teachers trained in letters, and that's all the science of reading. It teaches teachers how to teach kids how to read by using sounds versus letter recognition first. So we were able to train 50 teachers, which is pretty amazing. We want to focus on strengthening our student support team, our school support teams. It's what special ed mentioned. It's also what Nick talked about a little bit, and Josh, you were alluding to as well. So these are student support teams in each school that we talk about different tier 1 strategies that can take place right in the classroom so that we can do a better job of supporting our students and supporting our teachers. Right now, it is typically we have the building principal, the instructional coach, school psychologists, some special area teachers, depending on who the student is, and the classroom teacher. And we really are taking a look at specific academic and behavioral needs so that we can better support that student. What's really important to us is prioritizing job embedded PD for grades K through 8. We've been able to provide some amazing professional development right in our schools, right in our classrooms, and right here at the district office using our coaches. So that is huge for us. We have got a great foundational knowledge and a great wealth of knowledge to be able to teach our teachers and work on some professional development with them. Next year, I really want to focus on getting a couple of our coaches trained in Letters 2. And Letters 2 focuses on reading comprehension. So hitting grades 3, 4, 5 with that Letters 2 training. Those teachers, in addition to our middle school and high school teachers, they would all benefit from this Letters 2 training. So that's something that we're working on. And we always want to keep in mind our class size. Right now, it's really manageable, and moving forward, we'd like to keep it as manageable as we can at the elementary level. We're going to continue to align our AIS staffing with the needs of our students. And we want to make sure that we are reducing the number of students who require those tier 2 interventions through MTSS. So through that school support team, we're really going to try to pull all the punches and try to get the kids what they need. Any questions?
Is there?
Really not, probably I should have said to you when you were here last time. I'm saying this as an Optimist member, not as a school board member. Your high school English department is amazing. Ken Cherry has worked with our club for the last 4 or 5 years, and the essays that the students wrote, they were presented their awards the other night, and they're going to our meeting on Wednesday, were amazing. And this year, this board will hear 3 students give their oratorical, which were the best in 20 years.
Awesome.
And that's the support, you know, me walking in, not as a board member, but as a club member, trying to get more students involved in the ELA. So I know you overlooked that department, so please go back and tell them.
I will. I will.
I have a question. Have you ever talked about, or not to like add another initiative by any means, there's so many. But has the department ever talked about UFly at all and where that might fall into tiers or support or anything? I know you got a lot going on, so I kind of say that cautiously.
No,
'cause
that's okay. I was actually just talking to one of our coaches about it this morning. Some of our teachers are trained and they do know about UFly. That it's not a part of our letters training, but it's brought up during our letters training. But it's definitely materials and resources that we have, you know, kind of sprinkled around to let people know about that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have been working in this district for 53 years. This is the best group of directors that I have ever seen, how you work together. You all look ahead. You all have a vision. I know more coming next. I'm just saying to Chris and to our superintendent, you have an amazing group of people that work well together, but also have high visions. Thank you all, seriously.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We have no comments from the audience this evening, but as always, we encourage folks to come and speak to the board if they have any concerns they'd like to share. Moving on to Board of Education Committee reports, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. Our next policy committee meeting will be a week from tomorrow on the 12th.
Is that via Zoom?
Via Zoom, yes.
Crabtree.
The legislative committee will be meeting this Wednesday, but I would like to ask my board, you do get some things from the New York School Boards Association, little surveys and little things to send us Mr. Sturpey and Mr. Mannion and Ms. Hunter. I always send them. And just to tell you how good these people are, they get back to me. John Mannion calls me personally and thanks me for what the North Syracuse School District is trying to do. I am going to let Jill send you tomorrow. The legislative committee has it. The contact for our governor. I feel like that we talked to Sturpey and Mannion and Hunter, but we really need to get through to the governor because this budget's a very difficult budget. There is a local person that you and Josh can tell you. They take your phone call, they write your name down and what the topic is. And the more phone calls they get, the better off. Or you email them. So Jill, I'm going to ask you to send the governor's information locally and in Albany because she's the one we need to really push. Thank you.
Mr. Bowles.
Thank you. Just want to first make a comment from Mr. Crabtree. Yes, our directors are our dream team. So they do a wonderful job and you'll be seeing the other half next board meeting. Other comments, our boys and girls basketball team on Saturday were up at the SRC Arena. Unfortunately, they were not able to win sectional, but they played very, very hard, and I am proud of both groups. They were fun to watch, and they really worked well together. Just another comment, we had talked about wrestling last time, and Coach Dave Wise is Coach of the Year. So again, a credit to Mr. Wise and all the things that he has done. And I did receive an email that our CNS Business Club and students from the entrepreneurship classes entered the Junior Achievement Entrepreneurial Summit at SU on Friday. Our students had a terrific experience, and Junior Achievement did a wonderful job setting up the kids with mentors and tutoring. CNS had 5 finalists: Tom Christo, Nick Deegan, Madeline Mohat, Brian Pham, Tyler Cisco. Tyler's winning idea was to repurpose sports equipment that had usable life, yet was discarded by their current owner. Refurbish and resell was the motto. He had to create and market the idea to the entire group, and amongst the 4 final ideas, he was voted to be the best. Congratulations, Tyler. And also congratulations to Rick Mancavelli, Mike Lucia, and Linda Dwyer, who helped prepare the students.
Do we have any general board comments?
Jill, I am so excited about Wednesday night, the Carl W. Sally Bear Road Apple Muffin Gang. If you walk outside here, there's an apple tree and there is a monument. I was fortunate to be a chaperone and ride that school bus all the way to Albany to persuade Mario Cuomo to sign the law that the apple muffin was the muffin of New York State. Please turn on 7 o'clock, Channel 3 with Mike Benny and learn all about this project that 4th graders did at Carl W. Sally Bear Road. Some of these young people now, they're in their 40s, and they will be interviewed about when they were 10 years old. I am so excited about this project. Secondly, today I had Jill send you OCM BOCES Bits. It comes once a month from our superintendent. Last week was Public Education Week, and I believe so much in public education. Please read Matt Cook's description about what public schools are all about. That's what we're here for, public schools. And last, Tom, I didn't get a chance to thank you because you speak last. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the words that you gave about BOCES. I've been involved in BOCES now 9 years, and we have a superintendent here that truly believes in BOCES. That has not been in the past what it's been, because BOCES is a special place, and it is for special students, and it's for every student. And what you said, I am sharing with the BOCES board next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just comment that next Friday and Saturday, our CNS high school students will be performing Mamma Mia. It will be at the junior high this year because the high school auditorium is closed. So anyone in the community, if you're free next Friday or Saturday, I encourage you to go. Their performances are always outstanding. Thomas, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. Speaking of wonderful community events, this Thursday from 5 to 7, we've got the Festival Nations at CNS High School. There's definitely been a lot of chatter about that at CNS at the very least, and it's completely free to go. and there's plenty of exhibits and showcases of people bringing cultures from their heritage or even from their home countries, and showing them off to everybody else. And I think it's just a very nice experience to get that sort of more global perspective and even just like the perspective of the different cultures within our district. And something I thought I'd note is when we came into school this morning, there were, I think it was over 24 full-size flags draped out in the first cafeteria. And I think that was just a really, really good way to market the event because it got everybody talking in the morning. Because what's usually a blank white wall like what you see here was just covered in flags, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Festival of Nations." So yeah, like I said before, if you have the chance, please do attend. It's a pretty wonderful thing.
Thank you. We'll move on to routine action items. Do I have a motion to place the consideration of our minutes from February 26th? Mr. Crabtree, Mr. Thorne, all those in favor? That is unanimous. I'd like to place B and C together, the consideration of classification of student school placement for disabled students. Do I have a motion to put those together? Mr. Ludden, Dr. Kramer, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Discussion action items. The first one we have is a resolution to create a 1.0 teaching assistant at Gillette Road Middle School. Do I have a motion to take that? Mr. Thorne, Ms. Segru, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Consideration for contract award for the emergency fire alarm placement. You can see on here the vendors, and they're awarding the contract to EJ Electric, correct, Matt? Do you have any questions on this? Do I have a motion to put that before us? Mr. Thorne, Mr. Ludden, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Consideration for contract award for CNS High School Capital Outlay Project. We only had one bidder for this. And normal? Don? Just have one bidder, not normal, right? On this? Do I have a motion to place that before us? Ms. Segru, Mr. Ludden, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Acknowledgement of the appointment of an impartial hearing officer pursuant to Part 200 of the regulations of the Commissioner of Education. This is just a acknowledgement. I don't believe we have to have a motion for this, do we? But, okay. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the appointment? Dr. Kramer, Mr. Herman, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Before we get into personnel items, I would like to acknowledge Mary Gapsky, a custodial worker 2, who is retiring with 19.2 years of service. So we thank her for her time here and wish her a long, happy, and healthy retirement. Do we need an executive session before we take personnel items A and B? No. Do I have a motion to accept personnel A as submitted? Mr. Thorne, Ms. Segru, all those in favor? That is unanimous. And personnel support staff B, do I have a motion to place that before us? Mr. Ludden, Dr. Kramer, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. At this time, I will make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing 2 legal issues with no action to follow and 3 personnel issues with no action to follow. Do I have a second? Mr. Thorne, all those in favor? That is unanimous. And do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Herman, Mr. Ludden, all those in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.